Well, South Africa may not be famous or very famous for its horror film industry, but things are changing, and they're changing quickly following the incredible reception received by the movie The Domestic, a locally produced horror movie already receiving 2 awards. The Domestic tells the story of an upper-class, happily married couple who hire the daughter of their recently deceased housekeeper, but from there, things take a very dark and macabre turn. Well, let's now speak to the person in charge of all of it, the director of The Domestic, Brad Katzen, joining us. Hello to you, Brad. First of all, congratulations. I'm just taking a look at some of the reviews, and even Rotten Tomatoes giving you a stellar review as well. I almost gave away too much of the plot, so let's not focus too much on the plot itself. Why make this movie? What sort of nightmares are you dealing with?
Too many to go into right here. The therapy is working slowly on me, but we're getting through it. No, I think so. For this project for us was, as I'm part of a production company of 33 films with my producing partner Sean Naidu, and we wanted to make a feature film that was within the realms of our own resources and budget constraints. And for us, horror has always been a very lucrative genre in filmmaking. It's something that you can do on a lower budget. It doesn't require a lot of resources. It's very concept driven, and as we've seen with other international films and just throughout sort of filmmaking history, they're much easier to make a splash with, as opposed to other kind of genres which usually rely more on like sort of big costs or bigger budgets. So for us, a horror in this world, and sort of rooted in the more South African-centric cultural aspect of the class disparity, the sort of the nature of domestic workers, is a very sort of South African sort of aspect of our society. It's something that I thought would be an interesting story to sort of unpack in a horror sort of theme.
We're watching part of what I think is the trailer at the moment, and I think many people will recognize the name that just flashed up on air, Tamisho Masha. Of course, he just has that sort of very dramatic presence about him. So having someone like him, tell me about the cast choices in this, and how do you go about that? You've got to find the right kind of actor and actress to make a film like this work. How did the casting go? How did you decide who to go with?
100%. So Tamisho Masha is actually he's also one of the producers on the film. We brought him on quite early. I started working with him sort of at the beginning of my career. He actually was instrumental in a short film that we produced together that actually got us into the Cannes Festival in 2015. So we've been kind of like collaborating on various projects, and he was actually my first choice for the story. He's definitely got that gravitas that he brings, as you say, and for me, he was a natural fit for this kind of story. We thought that he would definitely be able to lend his talents to it. And from there, he also helped sort of open up some of the casting choices, Amanda DuPont and Thuli Tebete. Between the 3 of them as sort of our key ensemble, it was really important that, again, we get the right kind of actors that are able to, convey sort of the weight and the emotion of some of the more dramatic aspects of the film. And just kind of using them to play off each other was definitely one of the sort of highlights in terms of, I think, the success of the story and just selling the concept overall.
Why aren't we famous for our horror films in this country? Because I was thinking about it, and I actually can't really think of many real horror movies. Why aren't we famous for it? And why then did you decide, I'm going to try and fill this gap?
So I think in general, I would say for South Africa, genre filmmaking isn't something that has been done a lot. I think that we tend to be more on sort of the dramatic aspect. There's just given sort of the history of the country, I think there's a lot. I mean, there's a million kind of stories we can tell, and I just think there's a sort of leaning towards some of the more historical, some of the more sort of heavier dramatic issues. And for me, I've always been more of a genre guy. I've always loved horror. I was raised on it, so for me, that's always been like the natural path. And I just think that from the more lighter, I mean, I say lighter, but like more the genre fare and horror in general, I think South Africa just has also just like a myriad of different ways we can explore that in an entertaining sort of horrifying way. There's a lot of dark stuff that we can do in a fun kind of thing, in a fun way here. And I think that's something that slowly is coming together more and more as I think our film industry opens up with streaming services coming in. There's a lot more avenues for people to explore different ideas, and I think that's that's starting to kind of open up now as we go.
You took the last question out of my mouth. I was actually about to ask you, where can you watch this? And I see I'm getting an alert here from Prime Video as well. So streaming is changing how we're absorbing these videos, and it just makes it easier for everyone to watch. But we know how expensive movie houses are these days. So last question to you, just briefly, Brad, where can people watch this? I've obviously given away Prime Video already. Where are people able to watch The Domestic?
No, so that's 100% right. We sold the film to Amazon Prime, so it is currently streaming on Amazon Prime right now in sub-Saharan Africa. So yeah, if you get an Amazon account, I know there's a 7-day free trial, so you can check it out on there. It's currently streaming, and overseas it's available pretty much on every streaming platform in the States. But South Africa specifically, it's Amazon Prime.
I'm just busy watching the trailer with the volume off at the moment as well. Something about the way you've used the lighting and the shadows. I mean, it's terrifying just watching the trailer with the music off. I'm now in the kitchen scene. I don't want to watch this. Brad, thank you very much indeed for joining us. The domestic director, Brad Katzen, all the best, getting already awards around the world, and I'm sure there'll be many more. Brad, well done to you and the team. Appreciate your time. All right, coming up for you in just a moment here on the SA Morning, grab yourself a nice warmer cup of tea of rooibos. It's good for you, but it's also good for business in South Africa. Tums are going to be talking to Joe Swart, research director for the SA Rooibos Council. We're talking millions and millions of rands for investment into research. That's coming up for you in a moment.